Om Shri Sai Ram. My humble pranams at Bhagawan's lotus feet, and with Bhagawan's immense blessings, we are blessed to start Samarpan talk series at the Sathya Sai Center for the first time in Canada. And I would like to, on behalf of all the alumni of the Sathya Sai, Sri Sathya Sai educational institutions, welcome everyone to this Samarpan talk today. It's an offering of gratitude by the alumni of Sri Sathya Sai educational institutions. It is an evening for all of us to come together and relive our cherished memories of the magnificent moments spent with Bhagawan and recapitulate his work, his words, and his way. Imbibe and share this joy and bliss. With that, I would like to invite our distinguished office bearers of Sri Sathya Sai International Organization, Sister Preeti Mathur, to come and light the lamp to mark the ceremonial beginning of the talk today. The first Samarpan talk series was started in Bhagawan's Brindavan ashram, Whitefield, Bangalore. And recently in August, they now have celebrated their 100th Samarpan talk at Brindavan. But this lamp that Bhagawan lighted through the Brindavan campus has now spread not all over India, but across the world in now 16 different cities, including Sundaram, that has celebrated 80th Samarpan talk in August, and Mumbai Dharmkshetra, where they have had 53rd Samarpan talk. We are blessed in North America, in Toronto, the Sathya Sai Center is blessed to have the Samarpan talk series start today for the first time. So with that, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Brother Sunam. He's somebody who does not need introduction. He's well known to us. He's one amongst us. He's been here numerous earlier times. But for the record, it's my pleasure and my pleasant duty to introduce Brother Sunam. Brother Sunam hails from Gangtok, Sikkim, and he first came to Bhagawan in the year 1978. When he joined the Sri Sathya Sai Arts, Science and Commerce College at Brindavan for his pre-university course. He then graduated in Humanities with distinction from the Bangalore University, because Bhagawan's college at that time was affiliated to the Bangalore University. And he followed that by obtaining a master's degree in history in 1986. He received his Ph.D. degree in history, philosophy, and Indian culture from none other than Bhagawan's divine hands in 1990. He's one of the most sought after alumnus of Swami's University for his music compositions and devotional singing. He's a regular invitee at bhajan workshops of centers across the globe. Some of the popular bhajan albums Brother Sunam has sung include Atmanivedanam in 1996, Sakshatkar 2002, Sai Sannidhi 2006, and Amrita Varshini in 2017. He continues to play a pivotal role in the production of Alumni album series titled A Bridge Across Time. Brother Sunam is also the founder, president of an NGO called Space, Society for Promotion of Art, Culture, Education and Environmental Excellence, which is an integral part of the Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization of Sikkim. Space runs the Sri Sathya Sai Prashanti Vidya Mandir, a Sai school in Sikkim, India. He's associated with the school leadership program of the Human Resources Development Department of Nepal State Government as a consultant. He's Sikkim. He's also known for delivering motivational talks on beloved Bhagawan's teachings across India and abroad. So without further ado, I would like to invite Brother Sunam to take the stage and share his experiences with Bhagawan with all of us. Thank you.
महती गुलिस्तान ऊंचे पर्वत बहती झरने अथाह समंदर रचना रचयिता के गाए जयगान साए अवतारा सत्य साई अवतारा करे आराधना युग अवतारा युग अवतारा. My most prayerful salutations at your divine Buddha's feet, most beloved Bhagawan. Dear sisters and brothers, Sairam, pranams to all of you. It's a real privilege to be here in this ornate hall today. When I was asked to come to Chicago for the retreat there, I never thought that I would be in a Samarpan program across the seas. Because even in India, I have been privileged to do only one Samarpan so far. And it's so prestigious to be in a Samarpan program. Basically, I really need to go into a little bit of etymology of Samarpan. We know the history of Samarpan as narrated beautifully by our brother here. But are we really Samarpit? What does Samarpan really mean? What does it mean to you? Can I ask you? What do you feel about Samarpan? What do you mean by Samarpan? What? Surrendering. And then offering. Offering, surrendering, which is actually the crux of spirituality. Tyagi naiki amritattva manashiv, Swami keeps telling us. Without Tyaga, immortality cannot be attained. But have we surrendered, and what do we have to surrender? What do we have to offer? Because the title sounds so beautiful. And it nudges us also that you need to surrender in life. But what do we really surrender? That's the big question. Before I delve into that, I feel like telling you a little bit, taking you back in time. 1978, he said, that was almost 40 years ago, when I joined Brindavan as a Sai student. It was the culmination of a wishful thinking that had a negative side to it, in the sense that I had really wanted Bhagawan to take my life. I was so sick when I was in Sikkim. I was just falling very sick. I couldn't breathe properly. And doctors told me that I had to be put on artificial respiratory system, put on oxygen. And I was so sick that I I wanted to die. And somewhere there was a feeling of penitence that I was not really a good son to my parents. So I told my mother that if I have to die, let me die in Puttaparthi. To cut things short, we came to Puttaparthi. Way back in 1977. And in Prashanti Nilayam, the day after we reached Puttaparthi, Swami called us in for an interview. I was panting. I was unable to breathe properly. I was wheezing throughout. Doctor said I had bronchial asthma. And as we went inside the interview room, the first thing that happened was Swami said, "You have wasted your life. I gave you a life, you have wasted it. I gave you youth, that too you have wasted. Now a person like you should die." And the moment Swami said that, it was a boon that Swami had given me. I was so happy. I said, "Swami, I want to die at your feet." Somehow I rasped it out to Swami. And then Swami said, then I was telling Swami that I want to be born to my mother once again, so that I could atone for the mistakes that I had made in my life, that I could serve her properly. All this I was blurting out. And the moment I said that, Swami just lifted me from my bent position. He embraced me and said, "No, you are going to live. You have to live still." Then he created vibhuti, opened two of my shirt buttons, slapped the vibhuti on my chest and said in Hindi, "Shwas lo, breathe in." So for the first time in 10 months or 12, 11 months, I took in a full breath, and Swami asked me very vigorously, "Do it again." I took 3 long breaths and I was healed. And Swami said, "What next? Now that you are healed, what next?" It was as simple as that for Bhagawan. Just he willed it, he touched me and I was healed. Then the moment he asked me, "What next?" I vividly remember that moment when I felt an upsurge of new life in me. That I wanted to, now that I am fine, I am free, I can live. Then I wanted to study in this college. There was a sudden spurt of will to live again. And I said, in my mind, mentally I said, "Swami, I want to study in your college." Because he had asked me what next. The moment I felt that way, I thought that way, Swami said, "You can come, I'll give you admission." To me, it was a miracle that I was thinking, how did he hear my thought? What I was thinking, how did he know? So that moment, my mind started playing tricks again. The moment you live, then all this come in a sequence. Then I said, let me test him and see whether he really knows, or whether it's my whim or my fanciful imagination. So I said, it was a loud thinking again, "Swami, I want to study in your college." I thought like that, and he looked at me sharply and said, "I told you just now you can come." And then it was confirmed for me at that time that Swami could read my thoughts. He could read my mind. He could know the tiniest whisper that we utter in obeisance to him. So this was the story, but much before this happened, before I joined Swami's college, I went back home, started counting the days, and then come May, I was in Brindavan for the summer camp, didn't get admission. because I didn't have the credentials with me, signed by the state president of the organization. So I was just left in the cold outside. Then the only course for me was to run after Swami. So running after Swami's car, all of us, we have done that at one point or other in time. Then it so happened that Swami never seemed to recognize me during darshan. And I started feeling, is it that he really forgot about me? Or maybe he didn't really recognize me, or maybe he didn't see me. But he was so busy with the summer course. So what I did was just run after Swami, and I started on a small self-introspection program. Why is he not talking to me? Why is he not looking at me? So I went on a little bit of hunger strike. Hunger strike is when you leave off food, when you fast, and then I stopped talking because I'm too talkative by nature. I thought that if I stop talking too much, maybe Swami will relent and talk to me. So that I was doing that sadhana. And then when Swami went back after the summer course, Swami went to Prashanti Nilayam. Those days summer course was a whole 1 month, a month-long course, and it was a pan-India course by nature. Students from all over India, they could come and participate. Unlike today, summer course is meant only for Sai students, university freshers. So I went to Prashanti Nilayam and stayed in that beautiful pilgrim center, which is the Ganesh Shed. And it was midsummer, it used to be so hot. Somebody came from Darjeeling, whom I knew very well. They were running short of money. Even I didn't have much with me. But they wanted money, they needed my help, so they took my money and said that I'll send it to you no sooner we reach home or reach Calcutta. So I was left only with 11 rupees 25 paise with me. It was a point of no return, beyond salvage. Even if Swami didn't talk to me, I couldn't even think of going back because I didn't have the money with me. I didn't have enough money to go back home. I sent a very desperate message, an SOS, which is a telegram those days, to my parents, telling them, my mother, telling her to send me some money, and the address was Ganesh Shed. And in Ganesh Shed those days you were allowed to stay only 3 days. On the 4th day, you were out in the cold again. And there were so many trees there, so you could help yourself sleep underneath one of the trees, and on the 4th and on the 5th day, go there as a newcomer again and register yourself and get a perch for 3 more days. So this went on. And in the course of my stay there, I met one devotee of Hanumanji. He was from Patna, and he used to get epileptic type of seizures once in a while. So he was my best friend at that point in time. Best solace for a person who was really feeling so sad, so depressed because Swami is not looking at me, talking to me. So on introspection, I found that there were so many lacunae, so many small mistakes that I had been, so many volitional mistakes that I had been committing. So I knew there was enough on my plate for a redressal, enough on my plate for a total atonement. So I started an atonement program for myself. Again, vigorous, not eating, and as such I didn't have much money to eat anything. So I subsisted only on 2 idlis per day. It was a beautiful time in one way, in retrospect when I look at it. And then this gentleman told me that I have been sent here by Lord Hanuman. And that Lord Hanuman can speak to Swami on your behalf, if you can please him. Because Swami will never say no to Hanumanji, because he is Sri Ram. So for me it was like, hanging on, clutching any straw that could save me from my predicament. So I said, I'll do whatever you say. He said, I'll need to introduce you to the Hanuman Chalisa. So he took me one fine morning to the Kalpavriksha. And that is where on the way, I had my first darshan of Hanumanji. Now if I say this to people elsewhere, they will think that I've gone crazy. But I discovered that day that Hanumanji is a reality. And Hanumanji is definitely a Chiranjeevi. He is just out. So, what I did was that day, went with him, and he was almost like I felt that he was out of his mind. He would just stop on the way, and then he would be in ecstasy, and then he would tell me, look, the skies are so beautiful. This type of attitude of this person. Then on the way, there was a flat stone, and on the hillside, there were some wild flowers. He told me that these flowers these blossom only in Kishkinda. You know where is Kishkinda? Where the hordes of monkeys used to live once upon a time, and Sri Ramachandraji went there on his way. So he said that these are very dear to Hanumanji, let's offer it to him. So I was perplexed, where to offer? And whom do you really offer? He said, Hanumanji is everywhere, we will just make our offering here. So on the flat stone, we both we plucked some flowers and offered it here, and then went on our way to the Kalpavriksha. And then I prayed so hard, both of us we prayed, and he told me that if Swami gives you an interview, speak to him on my behalf. And if Swami calls me, then I'll speak on your behalf to Swami. So that was the pact. We did Hanuman Chalisa twice, and it was a serene, wonderful moment. From there we could look at the flowing river. Those days Chitravati was beautifully flowing. And the morning sunrise, everything was so beautiful. After the initiation into Hanuman Chalisa, we both were coming home, back to the mandir. And right there, on that flat stone, was a huge monkey. The monkey was so big, I have never seen a monkey of that kind again in my life. It had very thick manes, like a lion. It in fact looked like a lion, with pinkish mouth, pouting, lips, and then its paws were pink, and its posterior also was pink. It was so beautiful, and it was playing with the flowers. That was the most beautiful part, and a huge monkey. So the moment I saw the monkey, I had no doubt whatsoever that I am looking at Hanuman. So I said, let me prostrate at the feet of Hanumanji. So I went towards Hanumanji, and my benefactor, he told me, be careful, it might pounce on you. It's an animal. So I didn't care. I just I stood right in front of the Hanumanji, and right there was a puddle of water. It was very muddy water. And I just stood on my knees, and slowly started inching towards my fingers towards his lotus feet. And as I did that, this man was aghast with, he was telling me again and again, warning me, don't do it. Be careful, man. And he was keeping a safe distance. And as I reached him I was almost on my chest and leaning towards Hanumanji too much. And he still kept looking at me and playing with the flower, holding the flower. Once in a while he would keep the flower, again lift the flower, and then intently he was looking at me. And then ultimately I reached his feet and touched his soft paws, and he allowed me to touch his paws. And I just touched the feet of Hanumanji. I was so happy. Then from there I knew that my darshan, everything is done. Swami is going to call me for interview. Swami is going to talk to me. So we went there at around 7:30. We sat for darshan. Swami used to come also early those days. And no sooner so what I did was, before he came there, those days, it was the Chitravati sand days. wherein we didn't have the concrete flooring at the darshan grounds. And on the Chitravati sand, everyone used to get a share of chance to bring sand from the Chitravati riverbed and then carpet the whole place. So during daytime, devotees used to do this type of seva in Prashanti Mila. So it was a very soft bed of sand. We were seated there, and I said, Swami, today you are going to get into my heart. You are going to sit in my heart. So I made a diamond and closed my eyes. You know what a diamond is? A shape like this is a diamond. And diamond, Swami says diamond, but diamond also it spells indestructibility. So diamond actually in esotericism it is called parashunyata, nothingness is diamond. Because nothing can cut diamond, it is vajra. So I made a diamond in front of me and I said, Swami, please stay in my heart, and close my eyes. And I didn't know when darshan had started that Swami had already gone whole length, and then he had already stood in front of me and he just hit me here on my head. And I just looked up and Swami was standing right in front of me, and very silently he told me, I am in your heart. And that was the most beautiful thing I heard. I was so astounded, I was in such a state of deep shock when he said, Utho, jao andar. I didn't even hear that. I was too benumbed by my experience. I kept looking at Bhagawan, heart was overwhelming. And then after Swami had passed by and gone inside the temple, people started cursing me from behind. Why did you go inside? Swami picked you up for interview. I said, really? Yes, Swami said, go inside. Andar jao. You didn't go. Then I thought that Swami might call me in the evening again. If he had really meant to give me interview, he will definitely call me in the evening. So in the evening, once again, I went there, sat for darshan, and Swami called me. And as I went inside for my interview, I just fell at his feet and started crying. And I was again and again telling him, why did you do this to me, Swami? Aisa kyun kiya, Swami? And Swami was telling me, maine kya kiya? What did I do to you? And I was telling him, Swami, you didn't talk to me. There were so many complaints to Bhagawan, so many reproaches. Swami, you didn't look at me, you didn't talk to me. And ultimately I said, Swami, I have no money. I don't have money, Swami. Money nahi hai? Kya khayega? So I said, kuch bhi nahi hai, Swami. Admission bhi ho gaya, Swami. It was a very complaining type of attitude on my part. I was saying, Swami, even 2 months almost a month had passed since the college had started, and I had lost all hope. Swami said, तुमको admission देता है Swami, money भी देता है, तुम्हारा telegram मैंने बंद कर दिया. The telegram that I had sent, Swami said, I had stopped it, so that you should feel this. Now I'll observe you for 1 whole week, and if you fail, then I will send you back. Then at that time I suddenly remembered this Hanuman Bhattaji from Patna. So I told him that, Swami, I met a devotee from Patna. Swami said, who? And I said, Swami, one devotee, and he has sent this. I was about to take it out from my pocket. He had given me a Devi Vigraham, and he had asked me that if Swami calls you inside, you should ask him to blow on it and enlarge it, make it bigger. So before I could tell this to Swami, Swami saved me himself. He said, don't talk to that person. What is your connection? Why do you come to Puttaparthi? For what? To make all this, start new relationships, stop socializing, don't talk to him. So now that became my predicament. How to avoid him was a big problem for me. Because during my lean days, he was my best friend. And now Swami is telling me not to talk to him, not to speak to him. So to while away with my time, I just picked up a wicker basket there outside, which were in plenty. So I started picking up pebbles here and there, just to while away my time. And then at around 7 o'clock, I went to the shed. And true to him, he was standing there. And then he told me, Sunam, Swami must have told you not to talk to me, not to look at me. So you don't have to do that. And you won't need to do that because I have been asked to leave the ashram, I am leaving. So that commandment, whether it was an intuitive commandment from within him, that I don't know. But he said, I am leaving now. But won't you help me with my baggage, because you know that I am not well. He told me that. So although I was also completely emaciated, I had almost become another Siddhartha, Gautama Siddhartha in penance. I just lifted his baggage somehow, followed him, and there was a bus going out. Can you imagine at that time? It was a red bus. He got on the bus, I shook the luggage inside the bus, and I was about to come down. He just caught hold of me and embraced me. And he said, Sunam, whatever may happen to us and wherever we are, I am always your elder brother. He told me that. The moment he left, I was caught in an emotional frenzy. Like I felt so much for him. And I felt a type of void, like a good friend has just left me and gone. And the next day, in the morning, I was sitting for darshan. Swami walked up to me and very sternly said, go back home, you have no place here. Then I said, Swami, what did I do? Swami said, go back, there's no place here. And then, I almost went berserk. This was too much for me today. I went to the Krishna statue near the Gokulam, at the Gokulam. Near the Krishna statue, I sat down there. And all these bhajans that I had learned by the time came to my rescue. Throughout the day I was singing bhajans like a madcap. And then in the evening I thought, why should I even go for darshan? Because he's going to tell me something like this again. So let me go up there, uphill to there was a place called Tulsi Vanam where we have the university administrative block now. So I went to Tulsi Vanam. But as the darshan time approached, I couldn't really withhold myself. And I walked down the hill and sat for darshan again. And praying that, Swami, please don't tell me what you said this morning. And Swami walked up to me and said, are you still here? Go back, you have no place. Then I got up, mustered my courage and said, Swami, why Swami? You told me that you will give me admission. Swami said, emotional attachment, not good, you can go. So that momentary emotional feel that I had for that person, Swami said, not that, not even that. You should be free of all these entanglements before you think of God. So the moment Swami said that to me, then he said the most beautiful thing that really sent me off. He said, your grandmother is waiting for you. And Swami only knew my connection with my grandmother, my attachment with my grandmother. The moment he said that, I felt that maybe something has gone wrong with my granny. I need to go. So I left for Brindavan and then I was back home to Sikkim. For 15 days, I didn't want to look at anyone's face, talk to anyone. I was just completely, I closed the door and I was just with myself. There was also a momentary feel that I should do away with all the pictures of Bhagawan. Because after all, he's so cruel to me. Then after 15 days, I felt like going to the temple and again teaching bhajans to Bal Vikas children. So I started doing that. And the next summer, I went to Brindavan just for the summer camp. I had joined the local college, the government Sikkim degree college, and examination was round the bend. I'm just cutting the story short. But I felt a type of compulsion that I must go for summer course. So I told my mother, I'm going to for summer course tomorrow, I'm going to Brindavan. My mother said, you have your examination? I said, no, this doesn't matter. Let me go for summer course. The thought of all those people in white and white, I used to call them demigods. Just thought of these great, Devaputras, Putris walking around, and then Swami giving his discourse. That was so inviting that I reached Brindavan. And this time I had a letter. Armed with my letter, I had gone there from the state president. I gave the letter to Dr. Bhagawan. He refused to look at it even. He said, I have to go to Swami. Swami has called me. And I went back to the place where I had left my shoes. And my shoes were gone. That was my first experience. Then I went to the nearby village. The earlier year, I had stayed in Bangalore. This time I went to Sikkim, where the house was still cheaper. I had to pay only 1 rupee per day for the house. You can well imagine the condition of that house. There was just one skylight, no windows, nothing, and all different varieties of bugs and insects would fall on me whenever there would be a gust of wind blow on the thatched roof, and that was the only skylight. It was a beautiful place. So I just made myself comfortable, and straight away I embarked upon. I knew what to do now. So I started my sadhana, this Nirzal Pratam and not speaking. These two things I started. That was the only thing that I knew, because that would silence my senses and then make me a proper candidate for introspection. So when I started that, and then again running after Swami's car, and then somebody came and with her son. The son was a little bit unruly, that's what she told me. So why don't you also join here, so that you can take care of my son? That was the main idea. So that gave me the inspiration to go and fill up my form, although I had not taken my credentials, my papers, my documents with me, because I had left in a huff. I had told my mother I'm leaving tomorrow. So I just packed some clothes, one camera and one small tape recorder, and then I had just left. So I had nothing with me. So I had told him that how will I get admission when I don't have my documents with me? And this lady, this great auntie, she told me that the documents, you can bring it later on, but now that is applied. There was a type of desperation in her tone, and that made me go with her. And I filled the form, applied there, and then Dr. A.V. Lakshmi Narasimhan and Mr. Dr. E. Sudarshan, they called me for an interview the next day. And in the interview, they asked me for my documents. I said, I'll get it from home, if I'm given admission. So, just give me 15 days, I'll get my documents, I told them. So that day, that was the next day, I went back to my room to keep to take rest. And I just opened my suitcase to keep my camera and my tape recorder. And right on top of everything, there was a brown folder. And inside the folder were my documents, which were needed there. So the moment I saw that, I knew that I have got admission. Swami wants me to study here. So I took my documents and gave it to Dr. A.V. Lakshmi Narasimhan, and they told me that, were you playing around with us, fooling around here? Yesterday you said you don't have your documents. I said it just appeared there. So now, sir, will I get admission? So I was given admission straight away. So this is how I got into the Sathya Sai University, Sathya Sai College, then Arts, Science and Commerce College. By the time Swami came after the Guru Purnima, till Guru Purnima, Swami was in Prashantini land. And I was all excited about being a student once again. That night I wouldn't get my sleep, because I was too excited to even sleep. It was so fantastic, so wonderful. And the ambience in Brindavan was so different from what it is at any other point of time. And there were the seniors, there were people whom I thought that these people must have been the Gopikas in their past life. Because their attitude, their behavior, everything was so wonderful. And my teachers, each one of them, they were paragons of virtues. Each one of them, and the warden was one person who was revered, and it bordered around on respect. Not only that, almost on worship. People almost worshipped Mr. Sudarshan. So in that mode, there was a selection process. Then I was asked to, then they asked me if you can sing. So I listed out a lot of things that I could do, which I couldn't actually do. Like I couldn't, so many instruments I wrote down, so that somewhere I would be, hooked up. Somewhere I could get a foothold. So I wrote down singing, harmonium, accordion, this, that. And ultimately, they, impressed by the big list, they called me. And then they said, sing some song. So I sang Sai Teri Yaad Mahasudha. You know the song? Just to relive my moment, I'll just sing that one line. Sai Teri Yaad Mahasukhdai. Those of you, those who don't understand Hindi, you won't like it, because you will want me to tell the meaning. Sai Teri Yaad Mahasukhdai means your I always remember, Sai Teri Yad Mahasukhdai. Your thought, your remembrance is so peace-giving, so wonderful, so joy-giving. Sai Teri Yad Mahasukhdai, Ek Tumhi Rakhwala Jag mein, Sada Sada Sahai, Sada Sada Sahai, Sai Teri Yaad Maha Sukhdai. That was the song. And they were interested, they said, okay, you are passed. So I got a chance in my first month itself to sing bhajan in the auditorium. And a lot of people came and told me that, do you know Sunam? This is the rarest of the rare. Nobody has got opportunity to sing bhajans this so soon. And you have got this opportunity straight away in the first month of your stay here. So I sang, and with a lot of trepidation, I sang this bhajan. Giri dhari lal Sham Gopal, Giri dhari lal Sham Gopal, Oh Giri dhari lal Sham Gopal, Giri dhari lal Sham Gopal, Madhavan lal Madan Gopal, Madhavan lal Madan Gopal, Mathura Natha Krishna Gopal, Mathura Natha Krishna Gopal, Shri Madhusudan Murali Gopal, Shri Madhusudan Murali Gopal, Yashoda ke baal Nanda Gopal, Yashoda ke baal Nanda Gopal, Ishwarama Priya Sai Gopal, Ishwarama Priya Sai Gopal, Ishwarama Priya Sai Gopal, Ishwarama Priya Sai Gopal, Giri dhari lal Sham Gopal, Madhavan lal Madan Gopal. So I told them in Chicago the story behind this song. It was given to the composer by Bhagawan in Calcutta at 3 o'clock in the morning in his dream. And Swami told him, I am giving you a song, write it down immediately, you will forget. Because this man, he had not learned formally, he had not learned music. So he woke up his wife, and the wife was grumbling and telling him, you are not allowing me to sleep also. And they were going through a very hard time in their life. And that was the time when he asked his wife, where's the harmonium? So groggily they got up, pulled the harmonium from underneath the bed, and then he wrote down this song. This is the most beautiful song. I learned about it much later when we used to, as a student, Swami used to ask us to learn new bhajans and come, and we used to go on bhajan hunting. So I went to Calcutta. This was one of my references because I was from northeast, Sikkim. So on the way I had to pass by Calcutta. So I used to go to his place and learn his new compositions, bring them to Prashantini land, and then we used to sing it before Bhagawan. And it used to be the official induction of that bhajan. And Swami used to give his stamp of approval. And then the bhajan would become recognized throughout the world. So we used to do that from different places. Somebody would bring bhajans from Mumbai, somebody from Delhi, somebody from Assam. So this is how all these bhajans got accumulated in Prashantini land. And a new phase in the style of bhajan singing started in Prashant land, wherein we used to openly play harmonium and sing. Otherwise, the old school of bhajan singing used to be just keeping the shruti. Hey Brahma, hey Vishnu, this used to be the style. दयामया हे महेश्वरा सत्य साई परमेश्वरा. No turnings, what we call too many turnings and embellishments, none of those, but bhajan soaked in bhava. Every bhajan used to be like that. And bhajan used to go on for 3 hours at a stretch, and Swami would sometimes give 3 different columns for each bhajan. So those were the times. So I learned about this bhajan from there. I sang a little bit of digression, please don't mind. I sang the bhajan in the Institute auditorium when I got my chance. And back home in the hostel, too many people were pampering me and telling me that you sang very well. Somebody whom I met last year when I went to the US, I met that senior. That senior came and he told me, there is some metallic thing in your voice or something, he told me. There's some metal in your voice. All this completely dislodged me from my moorings, from my track. And I started feeling really big about myself. And then it so happened that after Guru Purnima, Swami was in Brindavan. The day he arrived, he came straight to the hostel in the evening. And those days, Swami used to visit the hostel almost 15-20 times in a month. He would just be giving darshan, and he would take a U-turn and come into the hostel. And he would come from anywhere. He would enter from the front gate or the back gate. So boys would be prepared from any side to surround him and be around him to catch hold of him. Swami came to the hostel, and it used to be a very informal type of environment. Boys would bring the bed sheets and fling them on the floor, because the hall used to be, at night we used to sleep in the hall, and it used to serve the purpose of a dining hall and a prayer hall too. We used to do Omkar Suprabhatam in the same hall. So the place would be splashed with remnants of afternoon lunch, sambar, rasam, smeared on the ground. And then we used to just throw some bed sheets on that, and Swami would happily come and sit on a chair, not even a throne for him. And he was all the time like a loving mother. And that day when he came here, the seniors, they pushed me to the front. Something that is our tradition in Prashanti Nilayam, when the juniors are so beautifully encouraged by the seniors. That is our tradition, that is our culture in Prashanti Nilayam. And all made by Bhagawan. So I sat right in the front, and Swami, when he said sing, so I sang Giridhari Lal Shyam Gopal again. And then Swami was going back to the mandir, to the bungalow, his living quarters, and at that time he asked the principal, who was that boy who sang today? And he said he's from Sikkim, and it was a new introduction to Bhagawan again. So he's from Sikkim and he sang. Then the next day when we went for darshan, Swami just called me and said, "Dry fish, you come here." The moment he called me dry fish, I can well imagine today I would have fainted with happiness. I would have been in ecstasy. But those times, the ego was so raw. The nose protrusion was so big. The moment he said dry fish, I was hit very badly. And Swami saw my discomfiture straight on my face, and he said, "Don't worry, fish is better than selfish, is it?" The moment he said that, it warmed my heart. And then, just a small gesture, just a small statement, but what a big lesson to learn from him. That was one of my earliest initiations into the realm of what we call spirituality. And this is how Swami started. He said, "Fishes keep the pond and the waters clean. A selfish person, he pollutes the entire environment. So you are better." Then he said, "Yesterday you sang very well. I'll give you chance to sing during Jhula. You will sing on Jhula." I didn't know what was Jhula program. Then in my stupid imagination, I thought, perhaps he will keep me on a Jhula and make me sing. That's what I thought. So back to the hostel, I asked these seniors, "What is a Jhula program? I want to know." Because Swami gave so much importance to Jhula. And they said, during Jhula. Swami sits on the Jhula during Shiv Navaratri and his birthday. And then some of the best famed musicians of the country, they come and perform there. So immediately I correlated both the things, and I thought, my God, I am that famed, one of the famed persons, almost in that category. Because Swami has said, must be true. Then straight away, I started misbehaving with people. I was not myself anymore. And today I can recount the way I used to behave, my attitude, the way I was riding a very high horse. I hit the ceiling. And then Swami announced that there would be a music program for Navaratri. And I knew that that is me, no one else. Who else, And then they told me that Rupak Chandrapati is going to sing Ramakatha. It was news to me and I was crestfallen. I wanted to tell Swami, Swami, what about me? And then there was no opportunity. Swami came for the rehearsals at infinitum. Swami must have, in a month, Swami must have given us 60 interviews maybe. 60 times he would have come, morning and evening he would come and stay with us and tell us all the subtle nuances of the Ramakatha. And he started with telling us what the Ramakatha is. He started telling us the whole Ramayana story and how it was sung by the first bards, singing bards of India, who were Lava and Kusha. No other person than Lava and Kusha. They were the first people who started the tradition of singing and glorifying God in different places. So there was no orchestra for that matter, and because we didn't have too many musical instrumentalists. So somebody thrust an accordion on me because I have written there I play accordion. So I have to play every music piece, all the music pieces, every movement I had to remember it and I had to play it. So every music rehearsal, I used to be on tenterhooks, like what will happen if I play a wrong note? So I would be all the time watching, and Swami would say, hey, udhar kya dekhta hai? Batana nahi aata hai, you don't know how to play. And then Swami would say, this came out well. So every music piece on that, and somebody was on a flute, ultimately, and it was not a, one of the side flutes. It was a straight flute that you play, and he would play only one ragam on that flute. For every song, only one ragam. So it was a total disservice to the whole orchestra, and I said, no, this is not done. Now we wanted a Hawaiian guitar. Because every music piece, those days, Hawaiian guitar played a very important role in old Telugu movies, in Indian movies. So, that was a song. So now, how would we play that music piece? It was not coming out of the accordion. So we said, we'll manufacture an instrument. So we got a plank of wood, a wooden plank, and then we cut it and shaped it into a Hawaiian guitar. And one of our very talented persons, the guy who was with me, for whom I had got admission, who was instrumental in my admission in his mother said he's a rowdy and you can only read him properly. So this guy was so talented, he was a wizard on the accordion, on the guitar, that he manufactured the guitar. We went to the city to buy the pickups, electronic pickups, and then we made the guitar, brought the rollers, put the strings on, and the frets were made out of spokes of broken umbrella. The spokes were beaten, and then we made the thing. And in Purnasandhu Auditorium, we played that instrument. And he played it so beautifully, it sounded original. But this is how we started playing. We did the Ramakatha, and 1 year passed. Then once again summer course, and then the new season started for music programs. And once again Swami said, this time we will have Sai Katha. And Sai Katha was not even composed. And Swami had already announced we will do Sai Katha. And he gave the responsibility, the great opportunity to the Yachendra family from Venkatagiri, the princely family from Venkatagiri. They were given the opportunity to write the song because he was a lyricist. And the composers were Adi Narayan Rao and Dr. Rajeshwar Rao, both of them famed legendary music directors stayed with us in the hostel in Brindavan for almost 2 months. And they had to stay there and compose the bhajan, compose the songs, Ram Sai Katha. And then we were the people to sing the Sai Katha or play the music instruments. This time we were better off because we had a veena player, although we had to spend a lot of time on the veena. And we had all the instruments. And again, once again, Swami would come and spend hours on end with us to train us for Sai Katha. And then during one of the rehearsals, I blurted out, Swami, that Jhula program. Swami said, what happened to Jhula program? I said, Swami, last year you told me that I can sing. And even this year, at least to give me a chance. And disjointedly, I told these things somehow. And I was breathing very heavily while telling them to Swami. And Swami looked at me and very lovingly he said, have you ever swung the Jhula of your heart anytime? He said. Have you ever done that? The Jhula, the swing. Have you ever swung the swing of your heart? Then I was totally nervous. I said, no, Swami, never. Because I never thought that that was how it was done. Then Swami said, then you do that, install me there, and then swing the Jhula, and then sing the song. Who is there to stop you? That is the best Jhula program. No one to stop you, and it can go on endlessly, he said. What a great lesson to learn. Don't you think so? That is what we are supposed to do. All karma, bhakti, jnana, raja yoga, all the yogas tell us that ultimately you have to install him there. And you have to find your peace there. It's not without but within. So, I'll fail in my presentation, in my offering today, if I don't narrate a few of the beautiful things that used to happen during our stay in Brindavan and then in Prashanti Nilayam. Things that were not seen by the eyes, in the sense that you needed eyes to see, special eyes to see and ears to hear. You needed to be all the time with Bhagawan, following him, and then recording and writing, because those days it was not that we didn't have digital, recorders. So luckily we didn't have the digital recorders. Otherwise we would have recorded and stashed it in some place in the corner. But we didn't have that privilege, so we had to write down everything. And why it happened was, during a summer course in Prashanti Nilayam, Swami caught me napping, because Swami caught me dozing inside the pit. Swami was giving a discourse from the stage, and in front of the stage was a pit. And inside the pit, the musicians would sit, thinking that we have to accompany Bhagawan for his bhajan. Wherein to this day I believe, and in retrospect again, I remember that Swami never waited for a shruti. We are the only people in this world who look for sophistications, microphone, and then harmonium, and tabla, and shruti. We need all these proppings. For Swami, he was all the time, he never wasted a moment. The moment he had to sing, he would just start singing. And then, did I share with you last time this beautiful experience of 432 Hertz? Did I share with you? Did I? Then I'll share this with you. In recent times, our people, our students, today's generation of students in Prashant Land, they are such wonderful angels you can't imagine. There are no words to describe them. Some of them, they have never seen Swami, and you should go to Prashant Land and talk to them to hear about their experiences. And I get a chance to collect most of their experiences. Some of them, I keep meeting them regularly. And I keep going to Prashanti Nilayam quite regularly. And on one of those occasions, I was with the Radio Sai group, and DJ Dhananjay, who is the sound engineer in Radio Sai. And most of these boys, in fact all the boys, they have learned everything by themselves. The one who is the progenitor, the Bhishma Pitama of Radio Sai, C.G. Sai Prakash, he learned not only sitar by himself, because Swami asked him to play sitar. he practiced sitar so hard, so much, and yesterday I heard about Arun's story about how he played sitar. It was really heartwarming to hear these beautiful anecdotes, so beautiful experiences. So, CJ has his own story to tell about how Swami asked him to play sitar, because the man who used to play flute before the bhajan would commence in Prashanti Niran, he stopped for some reason, health issues, and then there was no one to play. And not that Swami needed someone to play music before bhajan, it was never that. But he was giving opportunities wherever it was possible to everyone to have a share of his sanidhya, his sanidhi. And CJ said, I have never even played sitar, Swami. Swami said, play it now. So that day the idea was put in his head. So he went out there in the streets, went to the music shop there outside, Guruji's son's music shop. And there was a nice beautiful sitar hanging there. Now it meant so much to him because now it was on his mind that he has to play sitar. So he went there and asked the shop owner, can I touch this sitar? Can I just play something on this? So he said, definitely, jolly well you can do, but before that, can you do a demo on the harmonium? Because CJ was very good in harmonium. He is one of the best there. So will you kindly do a demo for this customer of mine? Because there was a customer, potential customer, who would be impressed by the manner in which you could play the harmonium, different gayakis. So he played the harmonium and it satisfied the customer probably. So he said, you can take the sitar for tonight. So he took the sitar, tuned it, and then he Googled, in his case, because there was no Google those times. So Arun, what he did was, he referred to a book in the library written by Pandit Ravi Shankar, My Music, My Life. And at the end of the book, there are some lessons there. How to play sitar, how to tune, lessons on tuning the sitar or playing the sitar, and he learned those lessons from there and he picked up. In his case, he picked up that way, and after almost a month, he was ready with his first 3 minutes long music that he could play. And then Swami said, are you ready? Come and play it. This is how Swami used to encourage the heart of everybody, be it a bhajan singer or be it somebody who was making a Ganesha during Ganapati, Ganapati Divas, Vinayak Chaturthi. Our boys would be into sculpting, painting, all art forms, and Swami would encourage everyone in his own idiom. And to the girls also, this is what he was doing in Anantapur. And once this was done, the boy would really grow in his stature. This person would grow in stature. This is how the bhajan group was brought out. So even today, there are people who believe that we have 2 schools of music in Puttaparthi, the formal and informal school. And sometimes the informal school, which is this school, they never went to learn music. And then the formal school, the Mirpuri College, sometimes the informal school far surpasses the formal school. Because there they are taught the technical jargon of music also. But here, devoid of the technicalities of music, they are steeped in devotion. It's a completely different world by itself. So he learned, and after a few years, 2 years or so, into his playing sitar, by the time he had become so good, he could do a sitar recital for almost half an hour. Just he learned by himself, looking through Google. So Google was the Dronacharya, he was the Eklavya. Some other time, Swami asked him, now you people start musical productions and videography and you can start. He said, I don't even know how to touch, how to even operate on a computer. And Swami said, you can do it. The way you did it with sitar successfully, you can even learn the computer by yourself. So this is how these people, they learn by themselves. And DJ, I was telling you about DJ, he told me a beautiful story. They all wanted to bring together Swami's bhajan sung by him, sung by Bhagawan himself in his voice. And those things are in plenty. So to digitize them and then to mix it with a beautiful music soundtrack that they had made. So they wanted to mix it with the soundtrack and bring out a new album. as though bhajan Swami was singing in a studio, and that was the feel they wanted to give to the world. So as they were trying to match Swami's voice with the soundtrack, it was a mismatch. It didn't match at all. Swami was a little bit sharper than the normal, flatter than the normal scale. And then they thought, this is what came to his mind, how could Swami sing out of scale? Like how could he sing, upper swaram? How could it be? So they brought and tried on every harmonium and did everything. Every instrument was dot on the C or the A on the piano scale. But Swami's voice was different. So then he discovered, he did a lot of research on this, and then he discovered that the piano scale on A, which was 440 hertz, was what was made by the Western world in the 1940s. So they had standardized the frequency of A as 440 hertz, and some of the Nazis and some of these people, their idea was to create a type of panic, a mental panic, a mental depression among people, anxiety among people, and it was a type of negative war that they were waging against humanity, a psychological war that they were waging against humanity, and unfortunately that remained to be the normal piano scale, and we are on that scale. The whole world is attuned to C or A as 440 hertz. So the moment he read about these things, he found out that the natural scale of nature, the scale of nature as it is per se, is 432 hertz. So he brought a 432 hertz tuning fork from the physics lab, and then he banged the tuning fork, and I used to carry it with me to demonstrate. So he banged the tuning fork and then matched it with Swami's voice, and it was a total perfect match. So what I'm trying to tell you is Swami was all the time bang on the natural note, and we had deviated from the natural frequency. And despite that deviation, I used to, and even I have done that mistake, play the harmonium for Swami's bhajan. When Swami would sing, Prema Mudita Manaseka, Swami would start like that. No need for any instrument, and we had to match. And every time we used to feel that Swami is slightly off scale. And then even the beat also, rhythm also, slightly off scale, we used to feel. And then we used to try to correct him. We have done all these audacious things, like we took liberties as his children. And then we said, and Swami wouldn't regardless of what we were doing, all our stupid acts down here, Swami would continue to sing, and then he was not out there today in retrospect, when I look back, dear sisters and brothers, he was never proving anything. And that is what he wanted us to learn. When he said, my life is my message, what did it mean? For us, it has almost become a rhetoric. Oh, my life is my message, now my life should be his message. This has become a rhetoric. Almost like love all serve all. We say it and put a full stop there. We never try to go deep into the meaning of love all serve all. It contains the sum and substance of all that is written, all the commentaries, all the scriptures ever written in human history. It contains that, love all serve all. It is Advaita. But then we don't go really deep into it. So Swami would just sing. And when we sing bhajan, we are so conscious that people are listening. We are so conscious of our own singing. And then we are conscious that we are trying to prove something there. We are trying to do something there. When he's the doer. We are like the proverbial fly on the steering wheel, thinking that I am driving the car. And he is doing it. So, there's nothing that you and me can offer to him. If you look at it from this stance, what is there for you and me to offer? Swami says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam also. He has given a huge exegesis on that. You know it very well. Can I ask you? What has Swami said about Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam? No, I thought that this should be an interactive session. Patram, body. Pushpam, Phalam, Karmaphalam, Toyam, the tears of devotion. These are the only things that are yours. That's what Swami says. And you can offer happily. Because all the fruits of my action that I have reaped are because as long as I don't surrender myself, I have to reap the fruits of my action. The day I surrender that, then I cease to do anything. That is the crux of the Bhagavad Gita. And it's easier said than done, but it's so difficult. So there is nothing that we could really, in our earnestness, offer to Bhagavan, except this one thing, my individuality. And that too, if I say that I am offering, then we are finished. No, this is what happened I was with Bhagavan in Chennai. We had gone for the Sai Katha recording, the next level of Sai Katha. Then Swami, one day, we had finished recording, and the day we went for recording, Swami shook hands with each one of us and said that glorify the name of Sai. And we felt as though we were the ambassadors of Sai, going around to glorify him. This is how most of us in the Sathya Sai organization also we think, that we are out here to complete his mission or be a part of his mission. Whereas he says there is no mission at all. How would you feel? Because he has said it right in front of me. What mission, sir? He told this to Dr. John Hislop. I was there at earshot. What mission, sir? I am not a missionary, he said. So the mission is yours and mine. And that mission is my God realization, my becoming a Buddha. That's the only mission. And all that we see are commentaries on that mission. But then we take this to be very real. And then we think that this is how we are helping in God's mission. We have to please Bhagavan. We make such terrible statements sometimes, as though we are the ones to bestow upon God, who is the fount of all happiness, bliss and pleasure. We are making him happy. So I am above him, in fact. I am the bestower of happiness to the avatar by my singing. Can you imagine? My singing in 440 hertz. Totally out of scale. Even if you are bang on scale, still you are out of scale, because we have deviated. So here, after the recording, we told Swami, please come. And we were all novices. Not that we are professionals now. That you never become a professional devotee. You just become a devotee. So there, we all said, Swami, we don't want to go for an outing. Swami said, you should go. For the recording, he had given us, shook hands with us. We said, Swami, please come for the recording. Swami said, how can I come to the studio? Don't you know the Maryada? He said. So the Maryada, why we call Sri Ramachandraji Maryada Purushottam, is because he upheld the dignity of not only his wife, his father, but all his citizens. Everyone who came to him, he upheld his Maryada. And that is why the entire population of Ayodhya, they upheld the Maryada of the king. So that is the reflection and resound and reaction. Do we really uphold the Maryada of Bhagavan? In what way are we upholding the dignity of God? So these are the ways. If I love him, then I know his dignity. So Swami said, do you expect me to walk into the studio? Why should I? But when we were recording, Swami came to the studio, and then he circumambulated around the studio in his car and went back. So in the evening when we went after the recording, Swami said, all of you did a great job. We did nothing. The music pieces were all played by professionals, and we were just there as exhibits with our musical instruments. They are trying to do something there and playing something. And they, on purpose, the musicians would stop what they were playing and encourage us, come on, you play your part. And then we would play and say, oh my God, that was out of the world. It was so good, so fantastic. Such was the way in which Swami mesmerized everyone. And then when we were recording Nene Sai Baba No, that moment I just want to recall. Nene Sai Baba No is when, in the story of Sai, the moment comes when Swami says, I am Sai Baba. When the necromancer, the witch doctor, he tries to exorcise the so-called evil spirit in Sathya, and then tries to say, who are you? And then he says, I am Sai Baba. So that part is sung beautifully in Rag Darbari, and the composition is so beautiful. So as it was sung, and as it was sung out for the recording, everyone in the recording room, including everyone singing there, everybody was shattered and they were all in tears. And then the music director, Rajeshwar Raoji, he said, let us stop for some time and cry. So there was a crying session in the studio for the first time and last time maybe in the history of that studio. Because movie songs don't need that crying. Everyone knows it's a movie. Anyway, it will pass. But to take this as a reality, then only you would cry. So everybody there broke down. We had a proper crying session. P. Sushila and all these people said, how to sing now? Because we have cried. And then after that, a drinking water session, and then once again, the recording resumed. And in the evening, Swami said, you did a fantastic job. I'll reward you very well for this. Next day, he said, all of you go for an outing. There are beautiful temples you want to see. We said, Swami, wherever you are is the temple of temples. We don't want to go out anywhere. Swami said, no, you must go. So half the boys, the seniors, they were made to stay back for they wanted to watch the cricket. There was a test match going on. Kali Charanji had just come to India, to Chennai. And those days that place was called Madras. So in the morning we saw Kali Charan getting a huge pendant from Swami and all that we had seen. In the evening, out of his mercy, Swami had arranged a viewing session of the morning's test match. They had brought the cassette, video cassette. Those days it was VHS video cassettes, So that was brought there. But we had gone for an outing. So we painted the city red, ate very well, and came back. Swami had given us enough money for eating. And then by the time we were coming back to Sundaram, we thought that we have to buy something for Swami. Now what to buy? That was a problem. Because there was nothing that would come to our imagination that would befit the avatar. What would we buy? So ultimately we thought flower. So we'll buy some, because that's the floral garland or a floral offering is the only thing that people can ever think of, apart from modakam or whatever we make. Because modaka priya, so we make modakam. Otherwise, it's always nature. So pluck some flower and offer it, very easy. And don't even wash it because you don't have time to do it. And if something comes out of it, some creeper comes out, a creeping creature comes out of it, think that is also God. So this flower, we bought a huge flower garland, and those days Swami used to accept flower garlands. And we took it to Sundaram, and as we went upstairs, the room was pitch dark, and only save the light coming from the television, and they were all watching the morning, the test match. Everybody was watching along with Swami. Swami was also seated there. And in the dark, I took the garland, and I realized it later on. I was carrying it upside down, because how you could really know it was upside down, there were 3 apples hanging on one end of the garland. So I was carrying the apple upward, and I took the flower garland, and from there, from the dark, Swami looked at me and said, oh wow, right boom. That garland is dripping muddy water, Swami said. It was dark, I never even noticed it. And it was then I suddenly realized that the garland was wet and slippery. And as I was going out, it was dripping mud. And the Lord of Lords, he saw in that darkness, with that TV, in fact TV light, once in a while shattering the darkness, creasing through the darkness, he looked at me and said, take it down. And then as I was going out, he said, hey, take it down and put it on the Shiva Parvati, statue of Shiva Parvati down there, and come back. Swami said, it belongs there. उधर ठीक है, उसका जगह उधर है, उधर रखो, आ जाओ ऊपर. So at that time it didn't register in my mind. I just took the flower garden, went downstairs, then I had no time even to wash it. So I just offered it to Shiva Parvati. They didn't object. I came back and went upstairs and sat next to Bhagawan. And then Swami was commenting on Swami was giving his running commentary on that. Why is that fellow, once in a while the camera would be trained on somebody was very toothless. And Swami would say, see this fellow, he has no teeth and he is still laughing so much. Why is he laughing? I don't see any reason to laugh. And then what is there? And ultimately, luckily for us, the show got over. And then Swami got up and said, are you happy, all of you? Those who had wanted to see cricket, you got both, me also and cricket also. Then Swami said, what is there in this cricket? A very lazy game, Swami said. You throw a ball to a dog, the dog will catch it and bring it back. He made it as simple as that. And then he said, play football, that needs lot of vitality, it needs lot of vigor to play a football. It's a dharma yuddha. This is a dharma yuddha, Swami said. By fluke chance, maybe you will throw a sixer. That's what Swami said that day. And then we had a beautiful dinner. People would be, Mr. V. Srinivasan would come and say, Swami dinner is ready. And Swami would say, then we are also ready. And then we would go and sit. So during one of those morning breakfast sessions with Swami, we had a small event, a very small incident, but nevertheless a big lesson. Swami was, as we were seated, and those days Swami used to eat very beautifully, very properly Swami used to eat, with dipping all his fingers into the food, and then he would make morsels and eat so well. So before Swami started eating, we would all wait for Swami to start. And then Swami picked up a peanut because people used to offer peanuts to Bhagawan, fried peanuts. So Swami picked up a peanut and he was doing this on each one of us. So everyone opened their mouth. All of us open mouth, waiting for Swami to throw the peanut. And then ultimately it went to one of the lucky guys there, Gyanendra Deka from Assam. Swami did like this, and he threw it, and it fell right into his mouth. And then everyone clapped. And then Swami said, see, how is my marksmanship? It just went right into his mouth. So somebody said, Swami, you are God, so you could do it. Again, one of the seniors who dared to say such things to Bhagawan. Because ultimately Swami would say, if there was a falsetto in it, Swami would say, how do you know I am God? And then you are nonplussed, you have no answers. Swami said, no, it's not because of my divinity or my marksmanship that it went right into his mouth. It's because he was steady, Swami said. Because he sat steady and it went right into his mouth. If he would have moved, it wouldn't have gone into his mouth. So, you need this steadiness in life. Just a small gesture, but a huge lesson to learn from that. I'll just take you a little back in time again. Before that, could we sing one or two bhajans like the one which Now when we think of Prashanti Nilayan, a lot of these things have become things of the past. And when we had the opportunity, many of us, we didn't go to Puttaparthi. I'm not trying to make you cry, but this is the truth. That many of us, we were so engrossed in whatever we were doing in our lives, that we didn't have time to go to Parthi. So we kept telling that the call hasn't come. Swami's call has to come. He has to call me, then alone I can go. But Swami Prashantanam had been all the time telling that there is an open invitation 24/7. There was never a time when he didn't call. But then I would graft it on him and say that because he didn't call me, so we didn't go. And one of those convenient days when everything would fall in its place, we would buy the ticket and go to Parthi and say that, see, now the call has come. So there was a person who went to Parthi when it was too late, because Swami was not giving darshan. He was shocked that there is no darshan because Swami is not there physically. Year after year he would wait for us, and all of a sudden now, physically he is not there. So this bhajan, this song, echoes that moment, that feel of a devotee who goes to Prashanti Nilayam when it's too late. And it's written by one of our students. Joydeep Das is the name of that student. And for someone to compose a song with such maturity, Joydeep Das himself would tell me, and even I can vouch, that every time we are just instruments in his hand, he is the player. And then every time we thought it was our play, we were doing it, and it was all the time him. So this song, he wrote it down, and we recorded in one of our Bridge Across Time. The song is so beautiful. It says, बीते लम्हों को लब पे इबादत बनाकर, taking all the past beautiful moments with you, taking them to be a prayer in my lips, playing on my lips. यादों के मंदिर में आया, I have come to this beautiful temple of memories. सुनहरे पलों के बगीचों से चुनकर, I have plucked just one flower, one blossom from this beautiful garden of memories. Sunahre, a beautiful garden of past beautiful moments. पलों के बगीचों से चुनकर प्यार के फूल सजाया. I have offered this flower to you. नैना भीगे भीगे से क्यों है? Why are my eyes wet today? धड़कनों में है कैसी सदा? Why does my heart beat differently today? धड़कनों में है कैसी सदा, मेरे साए में आया. Oh my साए, I have come at last. बीते लम्हों को लब पे इबादत बनाकर, यादों के मंदिर में आया. सुनहरे पलों के बगीचों से चुनकर प्यार के फूल सजाया. नैन भीगे भीगे से क्यों है, धड़कनों में है कैसे सदा. नैन भीगे भीगे से क्यों है, धड़कनों में है कैसे सदा. मेरे साई मैं आया, मेरे पापा मैं घर आया. सब चले हम चले. Everyone left, so I also left. I just followed their footsteps. Everyone was leaving, going home, so I also left. सब चले हम चले, चलते ही रहे, and I kept moving, I kept walking. कब किस ओर मुड़े ये पता नहीं था. I was so unaware of my movements that I don't even remember when I took a turn, never to come back to you. सब चले हम चले, चलते ही रहे. कब किस ओर मुड़े पता भी नहीं था. सब चले हम चले, चलते ही रहे. कब किस ओर मुड़े पता भी नहीं था. नाव बहती रही लहरों पर, नाव बहती रही लहरों पर. सदियों बाद से किनारा दिखा है, रास्ता तन्हा तन्हा सबीता, रास्ता तन्हा तन्हा सबीता। अब शाम को घर लौटा हूँ, नैना भीगे भीगे से क्यों है, धड़कनों में है कैसी सदा। नैना भीगे भीगे से क्यों है, धड़कनों में है कैसी सदा। मेरे साईं मैं आया, मेरे बाबा मैं घर आ गया, मैं घर आ गया, मैं घर आ गया। When I was in Brindavan, in my second year pre-university, Swami was giving to every student, he would create something or the other, manifest something and distribute it. Once he, in fact, for 30 students, he created in one bundle, at one go, 30 amulets. And boys used to call it the universal lockets, because all of them looked the same. And he created 30 lockets at the same time and distributed it to the students. Then I started thinking that apart from me, I am the only guy who didn't receive anything from Bhagawan physically. Then in the course of time, I wrote innumerable letters to Bhagawan. Swami, give me also something. It has almost become a status issue, that an ego problem, that I am not getting anything. Everyone has a watch. In fact, some of them had 3 or 4. 2, 3 lockets, watch, bracelet, so many things. Then one day, all of a sudden, the desire for those things vanished. And then I was wondering, why is it that I am not desiring those things anymore? Then it was replaced by a newfound desire. I wanted Swami to give me a beautiful, statue, an idol of Ganesha. I wanted that because I saw somebody doing puja, and it was so beautifully kept on his puja, on his altar in the cupboard that was given to us. So every cupboard used to be an altar, and we used to have a lot of altar decoration competitions in the hostel. Imagine, these were the ways and methods in which we were imbued with values. So we had a very, very simple altar making ceremony, and then Swami would come, and as though that was the most important thing. Altars made out of paper, and then thermocol especially, and then Swami would come and he would say, okay, yours is the best. So that type of thing. So I saw this beautiful idol of Ganesha, and I thought that Swami must give me one Ganesha. And I wanted the Ganesha to be made of the 5 elements, Panchadhatu Ganesha. So I started writing a new type of letter, Swami, please give me Ganesha. And one day we used to do this, every weekend we would have the self-reliance program in the hostel. And in Brindavan we used to do it more vigorously. And while cleaning one of the basement rooms, which was a junk room, full of clutter and dust, and I was cleaning that room, and right at that time I saw something shining there. And it was in the middle of all that clutter, I found a Ganesha statue. And I immediately picked it up. It was a reflex that it is mine. Then on the second thought, I would be thieving, by stealing, because it must belong to somebody. So I wanted a confirmation. I met my senior, a great ideal for every junior person. His name was Yogi Nandakumar. So I met Nandakumar and asked him that I found a Ganesha in a heap of dust. So do you think that I should take it? He said that if you found it in licking dust there, then it is yours, because it doesn't belong to anyone. So it can belong to you. Definitely you can take it. So with that confirmation, I took the Ganesha, and I also found a small steel cup. So I took the cup and upturned the cup, and it was a beautiful pedestal for the exact fit for the Ganesha. So I washed both, and I inaugurated the Ganesha statue in my cupboard. And we did the puja. We did the the hostel cleaning, everything. The next day in the morning when I went for darshan, Swami just called me and said, "Idhar aao. Ganesha kaisa hai?" He asked me. So I said, "Swami, Ganesha is beautiful, Swami. Pancha dhatu ka hai," he said. "Pancha dhatu ka hai." I said, "Thank you so much, Swami." Then Swami said, "Don't just keep it like that, you have to do puja. And I'll teach you how to do puja of Ganesha." So he had wanted me to, he reminded me of that beautiful incident. And then he taught me straight away next day. He called me I was waiting for that opportunity. He took me specially inside for an interview and taught me the first part he said, "This is a Raghu Puja. It's a very short, abridged form of puja, which I'll teach you." And then he taught me, and it took another 3 years. The day I was leaving Prashanti Milan, Brindavan campus, after my graduation, he called me once again inside, and then he taught me the rest of it. And then 13 years after that, he reminded me of, "Are you still doing the puja?" Then I said, "Swami, you made it turn also once. The Ganesha was turned." It was a very long story. Again, it will be a beautiful experience, but it will take a lot of time to narrate it. But then I told Swami, "Swami, this is what happened, and you are all the time with me. So Swami, I'm doing the puja." Swami said, "Do it regularly, don't forget." Then even if you are traveling, you can do Manas puja, you can bring it to your memory and do the puja, Swami said. So a lot of people have asked me to send the script of the puja. It's here in my memory. But I don't know whether, I'm waiting for an opportunity to share it, but I have to be told, I have to get an inner call to do it, because because Swami didn't tell me that I should share it with everyone. So the day it happens, I'll definitely share it with, it would be the greatest pleasure for me to share it with everyone. But this is what I do, and this was a beautiful experience in Brindavan as a student. But one of the most beautiful experiences that all of us music boys have really lived in Prashanti Nilan. See, the way I was looking at this clock, and some of you were also looking at the clock. And this is what happened when Swami, I shared this in Edmonton. Swami came into Bhajan Hall. This was way back in the 80s, early 80s, 1983, if I'm not wrong. So Swami came into the Bhajan Hall, and Global Akhanda Bhajan was to start. And Swami sat on the pedestal on which his throne is kept. He sat on the pedestal, and then from there, he kept talking to the students and giving a huge discourse on Patanjali Ashtanga Yoga for almost 45 minutes. It was a huge, long conversation with the students, and it started with a conversation, and it ended up with Swami giving us an exegesis on the Ashtanga Yoga. But and in terms of a bhajan, this is how he did it. And I have shared it elsewhere, so some of you might be knowing about it because it's there on the YouTube or something. But what I want to share with you is, as he was talking to us, I knew that the bhajan, because I was sitting at the harmonium, and the Akhanda bhajan had to start at 6. And the wall clock would chime 6. Every time 6, tung, 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 and we would start the bhajan. But that day it was almost 15 minutes past 6, and the clock didn't strike. And then I looked at the clock, and Swami was also looking at the clock, and both of us, our eyes met. We say, eye contact. And when he looked at me and he smiled. He caught me in the act. And then Another 3 minutes he spoke to us to conclude what he was telling. And exactly at around 18 minutes past 6, he said, "Ha, bhajan shuru chahiye." He said, and got up to go out of the bhajan hall, and the clock started, it struck 6 after that. So it was time that stood still. We have seen beautiful glimpses of these things once, talking about rhythm. One day I was late for bhajan. So I thought that today let me enjoy the beauty of sitting outside. Because both inside and outside are two different experiences. Outside, Swami gives extended darshan to the devotees. Sometimes he goes on a third round also. And you miss all that if you are sitting inside. But if you sit inside, you can get the chance to sing bhajan. And Swami might interact with you from the throne. And the interactions are all beautiful gesticulations. Beautiful, Swami will say. And all that. And students would know the meaning of each and every gesture of Bhagavan. Swami, and the ultimate gesture would be drawing in, pushing in his footstool, and that would signature the end of the bhajan session. So sometimes he would just play around and he would act as though he is pushing it in, and boys would get ready and Swami said. And then again he'd start, continue. Sometimes if he wouldn't like a bhajan, if the bhava was not enough in that bhajan, he would just clamp down the bhajan and ask another person to start. And this fellow would forsake his dinner that day. Because it would be such heart-rending experience to be stopped by the master and then somebody else singing. We never would feel at that point in time that in my place somebody got a chance, That expansive feel, now it has come. Then it was a far cry. Oh, I didn't get my chance, my share, Swami stopped me. So, Swami would spend hours on end, sitting right there or standing there in any position and talking to us about so many beautiful things that are not written in any book. So this Srimad Sai Bhagavatam can also be written by somebody, and Radio Sai is doing a commendable job on that, collecting experiences from different people. And this program, this experience that we are having today, this is a Sai Sanidhi program. In fact, it's not only a Samarpan, but Sai Sanidhi. It draws us very close to Bhagavan. This is a great opportunity, and to cull out all these informations and bring these out in a book form also would be a great exercise, great spiritual sadhana one day. So, how much time do I have? 5 minutes? Can we sing some bhajan? Is there any bhajan that you would like me to sing? So this is how I was going to tell you that, bhajan has been one of the greatest miracles that the world has to see, and many parts of the world people don't even realize, they don't even know about it. That this is such a great, wonderful movement. We think about the bhakti movement once upon a time, but then there were sporadic movements which were ushered in by devotees at that level. One or two devotees at one time. Mirabai, Tukaram, Namdev, Jnandev doing it. But then today, each one of us, Swami has given us the encouragement. Swami has given us, empowered us to really become Tukarams and Jnanadevs, Namdevs. There are bhajans in the Sai repertoire that are so beautiful that when I listen to those bhajans, I blurt out, I just end up telling that composer that by virtue of composing this one bhajan, I would like to worship you as a rishi. Because they composed like that. And these are not our compositions. But then at a point in time, Swami made us feel that these were ours. These were done by us. So he would tell us in the beginning, go and learn some bhajan and come. Don't waste your vacation. So we would go and learn these bhajans and come. This is how bhajans like Sai, Bhajan Bina Sukh Shanti Nahi came into, currency. People heard about it because we sang it in Puttaparthi. But a time came when Swami would tell us, compose your own songs. 60th birthday was a big turning point. When Swami said, why do you want to learn a song from somebody's composition? You can also be original, you can also compose. So that spurred up a huge movement among the students to compose bhajans. Everyone reached out for whatever talents were latent in them. And then whether there was a talent or no, people started composing front, back and center. And there was one guy from this place, Canada. He was one of our students. His name was Krishnamurti Gopinath. So he told me one day that he had composed a song and that I should learn that song from him and sing it before Swami. So I didn't believe in the first place because, that was my vanity, my ego, thinking that this guy coming from a totally different culture, his accents are different, very Canadian, and what bhajan would he have composed in Sanskrit? So one day, and he pestered me throughout, and one day in the music room, he cornered me and said, sit down and listen to it first. And if you don't like it, do what you like. So he sang, and the first line of the bhajan that he sang, it brought tears to my eyes, and I repented, and I have never done. And I thought that how small of me, how insular of me, to think that bhajan cannot be composed by others, that only a few designated composers should compose. So this was the bhajan, we'll sing it together. Janani Sai Devi Dayamai,
Janani Sai Devi Dayamai,
Janani Maha Sita Mahima,
Janani Maha Sita Mahima,
Janani Maha Kripalini Maha,
Janani Maha Kripalini Maha,
तुम हो प्रेम स्वरूपिणी माँ,
तुम हो प्रेम स्वरूपिणी माँ,
दया करो सत्य साई माँ,
दया करो सत्य साई माँ,
कृपा करो सत्य साई माँ,
कृपा करो सत्य साई माँ,
जननी प्रेम साई माँ,
जननी प्रेमदायी माँ,
जननी प्रेम साई माँ,
जननी प्रेमदायी
जननी साई देवी दयामयी, जननी माँ कृपालिनी माँ, सूरदास को मिले कन्हैया, शबरी को रघुराई राम, इसी तरह से मिले हैं हमको नित्य निरंजन साई राम, साई राम, साई तेरो नाम साई तेरो साई तेरो नाम साई तेरो जन्म जन्म मैं गाऊं, जन्म जन्म मैं गाऊं,
जन्म जन्म गाओ,
जन्म जन्म मैं गाऊं। चरण तुम्हारे सद्गुरु साये, चरण तुम्हारे सद्गुरु साये, अपने हृदय बसाओ, शिरडी साई परती साई, शिरडी साई परती साई, शिरडी साई परती साई, शिरडी साई परती साई, प्रेम साई गुण गाओ, प्रेम साई गुण गाओ, प्रेम साई गुण गाओ, जन्म जन्म हर साई तेरो नाम, साई तेरो नाम, चरण तुम्हारे सद्गुरु साई, अपने हृदय बसाओ, शिरडी साई परती साई, शिरडी साई परती साई, प्रेम साई गुण गाओ, प्रेम साई गुण गाओ, अन्यथा शरणं नास्ति त्वमेव शरणं मम, तस्मात् कारुण्यभावेन रक्ष रक्ष साईश्वरः। हरिः ओम तत्सत्। श्री साईश्वरार्पणमस्तु।
जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे, भक्त जना संरक्षक, भक्त जना संरक्षक, पति महेश्वरा। ओम जय जगदीश हरे। शशि बदना श्रीदया सर्व प्राणपते, स्वामी सर्व प्राणपते। आश्रित कल्पलतीका, आश्रित कल्पलतीका, भगवान्धवा। ओम जय जगदीश हरे। पिता गुरुदैवमु पर्यन्तयु नीवे, स्वामी पर्यन्तयु नीवे। नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ, नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ, नागेन्द्राशयना। ओम जय जगदीश हरे। ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी वो साई महादेवा, सत्य साई महादेवा। मंगल आरती अंत అందుకో మంగళారతి అందుకో మందర గిరిధారి ఓం జై జగదీశ హరే నారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం సత్యనారాయణ నారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం నారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం సత్యనారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం సత్యనారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం జై సద్గురుదేవా నారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం సత్యనారాయణ నారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం నారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం సత్యనారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం సత్యనారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం జై సద్గురుదేవా నారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం సత్యనారాయణ నారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం నారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం సత్యనారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం సత్యనారాయణ నారాయణ ఓం జై సద్గురుదేవా శాంతి 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 సమస్త లోకా సుఖినో భవంతు సమస్త లోకా సుఖినో భవంతు సమస్త లోకా సుఖినో భవంతు ఓం శాంతి 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 जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की